Hey you, I got something to show you real quick. This is Beanchain off of Southern and Alma School, a mere stone's throw from Mesa Community College, open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They are a coffee shop offering teas, baked goods, and a great spread of breakfast and lunch eats. Everyone on the crew is very warm and inviting. They offer a ton of free sitting and work areas, but the secret to this worker-directed co-op is the private workspace they offer for a monthly membership. The memberships gain you extra access to the relaxation and task-directed areas, and Beanchain's workspace promotes the perfect environment to take your vision and really allow it to flourish. And when your growth really needs to be kicked up a notch, Beanchain's conference room is available for your team to really get down to business. And here we have David and Shannon, the brains behind the operation.
So welcome to this one-time podcast.
I love it. That's exactly, you heard that right. David said it right. Welcome to this one time that you guys are joined today by David and Shannon of Beanchain Coffee. It is a co-op, workspace, shared community here where you can come in and get some work done, and most importantly, get knowledge on your business and strategic just strategy on how to scale it up, and advice and tax and all this beautiful advice that you guys offer here. Thank you so much for setting some time aside and coming on the episode here, the podcast, to promote your guys' business, what you guys have here going on, because it's a beautiful thing and very tasty beverages.
Well, thank you so much. And I guess I'll kind of start by introducing the Beanchain and correcting you on one thing. We're not a cooperative yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
The idea here is we're actually trying to create
You're going to correct me tons of times, so correct as at will, okay? you guys are creating?
We're creating a worker-directed model.
Gotcha.
That is intended to be kind of a transition between the typical American business model and a cooperative. The idea is that we'll eventually be a worker cooperative and have worker ownership and have a legal structure that represents that worker ownership as well as the ownership of the founders, and kind of do it together. But we want to make it easier to slide towards worker ownership and have that be the exit strategy for founders of businesses, so that we can make these larger networks and coalitions of worker-directed companies. We think that if it was a lot easier to pull that off, then a lot more people would do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like it's a great idea and all, but the execution is kind of where we always fall short, right? Of being able to do that. But it looks like you guys have some very good directives and points in line, and like we mentioned, all your degrees that you have. You're not using them as you intended when you got set up, but that's going to work right into what you guys are doing here.
Yeah, everything in life seems to lead towards something. Do you want to tell them about all your degrees?
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, I guess I could.
Go ahead and spin that mic up a little bit. Yeah, spin it, because it's falling a little bit. There we go. There it is.
Well, I guess half of them I actually don't really use here, because all my welding certs haven't come in handy yet. We've definitely been hiring people to do stuff, but yeah, I don't really know. I guess just even with getting a degree in medicine, but also equine science and working with people, a lot of interpersonal communication skills were grown. And also when David cut the tip of his finger off here at the shop, the medical skills came in handy.
You didn't go straight to mouth, right?
No, they couldn't. No.
You had the training in place.
Yes.
Wait, what happened with your finger?
Oh, I was just slicing some cucumbers.
Yeah.
Those slicing mandolins are pretty aggressive. Definitely pay attention to safety.
Use the tools that are given too. He wasn't using the proper tools. So.
Yeah.
So I was also a software engineer before this, and I've worked probably more odd jobs in my life than most people in like my 20s than most people have in their entire lives. I've been
as it should be. Your 20s should kind of be like this crazy, chaotic exploration. Like, let me figure some things out, or try to, or just explore, right? And then from there, because you're young and you have the freedom, and you have the time. You don't need a whole lot of money. As you get older and you start, settling down and maybe getting a family, like that becomes harder, right? But I think you're 20. You did it right, man.
Yeah, and I taught myself web development, and then eventually managed to. I didn't have quite enough money to get a degree, so I had to lie my way into my own career and
fake it till you make it.
Tell people that I was already an engineer, teach myself, and then eventually just ace the interviews and get in. But that's kind of part of why we're doing this. Is I don't think people should have to do that. We live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Yes.
We should be able to be making enough money to afford to go to college, to afford healthcare, to afford a family, and that's probably a good jumping off point to kind of lay out the whole plan here, because we have a deeper plan for the Beanchain.
Okay.
This is kind of step one, making that good worker-directed model that we were talking about earlier. That can be a transition towards a worker cooperative. And then trying to build more coffee shops with that same worker-directed model, help other people build shops that will eventually become worker cooperatives, put all that around a nonprofit that can house the services and the tools that all these shops would need to operate. And that can be an alternative to the typical corporate model, so that all these shops can have the power of a big corporation, but keep the power and the money that they're creating in the communities that they're coming from. And that nonprofit will just serve them. So then we can take that and expand that, invite more people to join us and become a part of that, and become a worker cooperative, an ESOP, members cooperative, or something else that has a more distributed power structure and gives people a good living wage. And put all that around a much larger nonprofit that has a pool of resources similar to that will provide IT, legal, marketing, and staffing solutions. All the things that a typical big corporation would have internally.
Yes.
And we can provide all this stuff to the members of the Cooperate network. Wow. And help them have the power of a big corporation, but also keep the power and money in their communities. So we're seeing it as a potential catalyst for helping other people transition towards worker-directed styles of business and towards paying people good living wages. It would make it economically easy, no-brainer, and like enticing to do it. But also provide tools like worker direction, voting, casual voting within companies, teams, forums for proposing ideas and things like that. And put all some software around that, so it's easy for people to slot into their own businesses in really modular ways. Then we can provide all the components people will need to have varying levels of work direction.
You got my wheels spinning up here, man. This is such good stuff. So you said ESOP, though. I'm not familiar with that term. What is ESOP?
So there's a lot of ESOPs around. Winco is a really good example. Here in Arizona. It's a grocery store that has essentially worker ownership. And the way they're doing it is by distributing shares of the company that vest over time for their workers. It's an excellent model for getting it's kind of a good standard model in the United States for getting towards worker ownership. It's kind of an offshoot of a worker cooperative.
And I would imagine, I mean, you at that point you feel more vested in it, as you're not just an employee, there's not a figure, a number here. No, you're fully invested in that, and especially because you are providing such great tools for them to utilize into their own businesses.
Yeah, and when you have equity and profit sharing, that your efforts aren't being wasted too. If you do better for the company, then you're gonna get real economic reward for that. We think there's a lot of other ways to do it too. Something we're doing here is work teams. So we're a coffee shop, everyone's a barista, we all have the same role, but people can join other teams too. They can become members of the marketing team or the maintenance teams that we have right now. And we use kind of a light agile scrum methodology to divide up units of work and then attach a reward to them. So people can take some maintenance job around the shop, do that, and get paid a little bit extra on top of their normal wages for that extra work they did. So it allows people to not have any of their efforts be wasted and feel like they're actually being recognized and rewarded for the work they're doing, instead of just putting it out there in the hopes that someday they get promoted.
I hope they see this. I hope I came across a really good reel. Those ice cream cone cart guys?
They're faking you out.
They're faking you out, and this kid just gets more and more demoralized. And I'm like, oh, that's your bonus structure and
exactly
promotion.
How a typical corporation works.
Exactly.
Here's a pat on the back and maybe some pizza.
Oh yeah, pizza party. I've had enough of those. Yeah, for sure. I've had enough of those. So you guys here operate 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
Yep.
Is it?
Every day.
Yeah, every day. Every day.
Every single one.
Well, except for certain holidays that our workers have voted to close down.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay,
We
makes
offer
sense.
a vote for that just in case somebody either doesn't celebrate the holiday or doesn't want a day off, then they can work it if they can.
And we'll definitely be doing more of that kind of voting on like holidays that we should take off, and
Yeah, because
and we'll do more of that like next year too. We
Yeah.
we haven't been able to do as much as we'd like this year because it's first year and we're not profitable.
Well,
yet,
first
so-
year, and also it's so you mentioned becoming getting some nonprofit status or grants, right? Because
Yeah, we're never going to be a nonprofit.
Gotcha.
We're going to move towards being eventually something legally closer to a worker cooperative, getting people equity and profit sharing and all
Gotcha.
that.
Okay.
But we do definitely want to get some grants.
Some grants, yeah, because I mean, what is the profit on a cup of coffee? What are we talking about here? So it's like you have to, at this point, roll into things, and it's already built into. I mean, people gather around coffee. I'm drinking tea right now, so thank you for this beautiful healing tea. And they gather around, and they're already discussing business. They're already discussing strategies for their own thing. So like, roll that all in together and be able to provide good quality, ready to find and use information for the community in around here. And we are, to let people know, we are on Alma School in Southern, down the street from MCC, RIP Old Fiesta Mall.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, but I hear we're getting a nice kind of like Kierland Commons style.
Yeah, apparently it's the same architects that did Kierland Commons, so it's gonna be like the stores on the bottom and living. So we saw kind of what Agritopia is like.
Gotcha,
now, too.
yes,
Yeah.
Kind of fancy.
Yeah.
So that'd be good for the Beanchain, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I like
But,
that. That'll be just a stone's throw from here.
Yeah.
But actually, everything you're talking about, providing good best practices, software, business advice, and kind of being an incubator, that's basically what we're trying to do here. So this is all a grand experiment. The Beanchain is where we're experimenting with tools for worker direction. We're defining the best practices around those tools. And then we're going to build software around that and make those modular so that any other company can use all those tools for free at will. And then when we start building the Beanchain network, stage 2 of this, that's when we're going to have that nonprofit that houses all those services that all the stores are going to need. And that'll be kind of the experiment for the template that will expand into the Cooperate network eventually. But a part of that will be providing guidance and best practices for all these stores. So a huge component of this is making education that can help anybody do exactly what we're doing. We're not afraid of people copying this. We want people to.
Yes.
And the idea is that we're gonna help as much as we possibly can, because in the end, the goal here is to change America in such a way that poverty doesn't have to exist at all. And the way that we can do that, we think at the very root of it, is jobs don't pay enough. People don't have enough agency. Their lives are used up by these lopsided arrangements with their employers that don't let them escape poverty. There is a poverty trap. And if we can change that dynamic so businesses provide enough freedom to be a human and enough of the revenue that people can afford to live and raise a family and go to college, then we can change America to being a country that actually has upward economic mobility instead of where it stands now, where the middle class is being constantly eroded.
And to enjoy, like you said, to be a human, to enjoy the life that you're setting up. I mean, not just to live to work, but to work to afford a life to be enjoyed and lived outside of your work.
And even better, imagine that work is actually a positive component of your life. You don't see them as separate, but the community that you're a part of in work is something that you're choosing to be a part of, and that you enjoy being a part of. It enriches your life outside of work as well, instead of that you're trying to protect your life outside of work from. They don't have to. The barrier can be a little more permeable and positive if we create workplaces that people do feel like they have a sense of ownership.
And I think exactly, because even you think at the higher levels too. So somebody that is wealthy, well off, has like that crazy good VP or CEO job. That happens in those realms already. I mean, they're out golfing, they're on yachts with each other.
Enjoy their life and their job.
Yeah, and it's a blend. It's a blend of that. It's the people, the middle class, where it's like, I have to do this job because it pays my bill, but I don't enjoy it. I don't have a passion for it, and I'm trapped.
Yeah, I became keenly aware of that when both Shannon and I worked at a company at the same time. I was a software engineer and she was the call center. And seeing these stark difference in the way that I was treated as an engineer, where if I needed like just a mental health day, I could take it off and they'd still pay me. And if Shannon had a serious injury, they would give her trouble about just taking the time off she needed to heal and make it incredibly difficult for her, as well as being kind of very heavy-handed with their management styles and with their cost interactions. While with myself, I received respect and care and concern when I had needs that weren't being met. It was completely different, and it was in the exact same company. So that's just kind of the culture. That's the way that we've decided it's okay to treat people who are at the bottom of our economy. And that's not the way it should be. I mean,
the soldiers at the front of the line is really what it kind of comes down to too, because you're also
generating most of the value.
You're generating most of the value, most of the revenue. You're the face and the voice of the company, but yet at that point, there's no balance on like getting you taken care of.
As a software engineer, I was making the tools that Shannon would be using to help the company succeed. So, if we can find a better homeostasis between all the components of these companies that we're in, I think that when you think about it, the way we design the systems, that's the problem.
Yes.
Humans will always follow trends, whatever's easiest, whatever benefits them the
And like
most.
flow like water, right? I mean, we're gonna go the path of least resistance. So I'm gonna get the least resistance here if I like hold true to this, and I can see this as the quickest way to make a buck. And
if you're only beholden to the people above you, you'll always behave in such a way that would help your career advance. So that would be, appealing to those above you, not to those below you. So when you have a system built with that kind of a hierarchy, then the workers at the bottom will always be the ones that are the most trodden on. So by creating a system where workers can also be owners, where that's kind of like in a simple worker cooperative, you're working there, you can be a worker, or you can work your way up towards being an owner, or buy your way in, or however that cooperative is set up. And by doing that and saying, once you retire, there's a possible exit package for you or something, but like you kind of have to be working there to be a full member there and have that equity, then you can make sure that the work conditions are good for the people, because they're going to be exactly the same ones that have the voting power and that are getting the revenue share. And all that.
That's awesome. I'm already like spinning like on who I can send, your guys' contact info to, and get in here to, start spitballing and brainstorming and enjoying what you guys already have written down. I mean, it's you were showing me, what's the app called, Miro?
Yeah, so everything we're doing here is based around, trying to build good democratic organisms, and a lot of that has to do with really good communication. So we use an application called Miro. It's kind of like a really advanced shared whiteboard. So shout out to Miro. We're not sponsored, so maybe Miro should throw us a shout out too. But it's really easy to use group whiteboard. We made one for the Beanchain, just kind of breaking down what we're doing here, and we'll make that link available to you so that your users can hop on there and feel free to comment anywhere on that whiteboard. We'll answer any questions that people have. But it kind of breaks down our inspirations, the cultural issues that we're trying to address, the worker direction elements we're working towards, and the greater plan for the Beanchain. So
that's awesome. Just to have that clearly laid out too. I mean, there's no second guessing, from people like, okay, where do they stand? Where are we going with this? Where is my future coming?
Yeah, and we got some big stickies on there that say, this is a grand experiment. And that's kind of the idea behind each step of this too, is that like we know the world we want to see, and that's one that doesn't have poverty. And we generally speaking have broken down some steps that might help us get there through this organism that we're trying to build. But we're still figuring out the nitty-gritty of that.
Yeah, and I think what we fail to realize too, and me, growing up, I've always, looked up to, not looked up to, but like really respected people in authority and like held positions. I'm like, oh, they got it all figured out. They know what they're doing. And it's like, as the older you get, like, oh no, they know this is an experiment. America is an experiment. Humanity, our human experience. At the end of the day, we're all experimenting with our day to day.
Yeah, and the fact that we still got so much strife around means that we don't have it quite figured out just yet.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of good models to look at, and we can take the better components of everything, even the things that don't work, and try to put them together into something that might work.
Yeah, because it's like trying to take a soccer team and get all the best players from each position and each team and putting them all on the team, but then realizing that they don't work well together because they're the best. It's just a different mindset. So you might be able to pull a player from a less quality team, but they know how to fit that role better with the other components that you have on that team.
Yeah, we're trying to build like the Globetrotters of businesses here.
Yes.
The super M.
What was that?
I said the super M in
That's
K-pop
right.
terms.
Shannon's super into K-pop.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I found out about them a few years ago, or that whole genre. We need to tighten that one up. Let me take a quick break because it's going to get loud. All right, and we're back with K-pop Hour.
I wish.
It's huge. Well, just
Who's your favorite K-pop artist?
Taemin or Shiny?
Amen.
Shout out to Taemin.
Yes.
Shannon wants to meet you.
Yeah, stop by Beanchain.
Yeah, we're not quite at the stage where Shannon and I can like pay ourselves yet. But once we get there, Shannon will be neck to ankles tattoos because of the clothing.
Yeah, gonna be covered.
Yeah, my father's covered, and I'm just like trying to follow in those footsteps, but it is expensive.
It is, but it's worth it. You don't want it cheap.
No, you really
cheap work.
don't.
What would have been your experience as a you said you grew up doing ballet,
Yeah.
and being tattooed head to toe as a ballerina.
So what's funny is one of the companies I used to dance for, which is called Beanchain, they're in Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
They recently, they're in a different place now, but they moved studios to right next to my tattoo studio,
Nice.
which is Black Lotus in Mesa as well.
Gotcha.
And so I actually go back there every time I get tattooed just to say hi to the people that I still knew. And it is bizarre because last year I was in their performance of the Nutcracker just as one of the mothers in the opening scene, and it was just so terrible. Just covering all my tattoos because it was so hard to do it because mine are like, even though they're a little bit older, they've stayed really well. So the black was showing through everything.
Oh wow.
So it took a bit. But...
What do you do? Like throw some sort of makeup or foundation on it?
So my back tattoos, I did foundation, but it's like specifically for covering tattoos. But I couldn't do my full arm because like if I ran into somebody or the partner that I was dancing with, it would have gotten all over him.
Yeah.
So I just had to put like 3 tan colored compression sleeves on to finally cover it all. And then I'd like sew my bracelets onto the end of it to kind of cover it up. No one could notice, or so I was told.
Yeah.
Because I definitely would have been told if you could notice. So.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they. It's such a visual art, right? That every component needs to be exactly where they want it to be for it to be portrayed as such.
Yeah.
And they are perfectionists.
Yes.
Yeah, that is that.
Vote for that.
Yeah.
Are you taking a ballerina approach to this model here, Baxter, that you guys have here?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the opposite, actually.
Oh,
the idea is that this should be, so kind of part of the core of anything that is going to be democratic or include the opinions of other people is that you need to be able to operate in humility and operate in good faith with one another. So being willing to like not be offended easily, let people explain thoughts, trust that we all have each other's best interest in mind and in heart. And a lot of that has to do with being very careful to make sure that you explore everyone's ideas and thoughts in a critical thinking and like analytical way, and then you can find like the best middle ground. So I think in a good democracy, nobody's happy. In a good democracy, everyone kind of gets a little bit of what they want, and then it gets towards something that collectively is better than what any individual could have thought of.
Well, and we are so short-sighted. We're like, this is what's good for me right now, but then down the road it might not be, So, but we're like, I just needed to capitalize on this now. But as a collective, it's better if you get more compromise.
I guess to correct what I said, in a good democracy, nobody gets exactly what they wanted at the start.
Oh yeah.
But then everyone's happier in the end.
Mm-hmm.
No one's happy.
That's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, that's not a very good marketing approach to take for greater democracy in the workplace.
We're working towards that. So take me to the beginnings of this whole idea in itself. I mean, you guys started off as a food cart or coffee cart, or truck.
Yeah, I mean, we built the coffee cart first, but we kind of basically started as this. So like, we never really made much money with the coffee cart, but we were running it outside the gym over here, and then outside of this location as we were building it out. But it was a good way for us to like start meeting the people in the area, developing those relationships.
Getting Google reviews.
Yeah.
That really helped us.
There were some days where we only had like one customer at the cart.
But we'd be like, review us, please. And then more people would start coming.
Yeah, that's huge, especially and to create a buzz. You know, I'm sure you guys are talking about, you know, it's going to be a great room. There's a conference room, which we are in. There's going to be studios and workspaces in the back. There's free use out there in the lobby, what we call it.
Yeah, a lot of the people that we met at the cart have become some of the members, some of our like our core regulars. Like we have in our shared workspace, Max is one of the first people that found us, and he's been a long-time member of our shared workspace.
He just walked out the door right now.
Oh yeah, there we go. I guess so. And then we have Chloe met us pretty early on too, and she became our first user of our private offices. And so many of our regulars from back in the cart days are still coming in every single day.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And so what's the journey been? It's been a couple years.
So I've been dreaming about this for 10 years, trying to figure out the right way to approach getting more democracy in business and building these structures. We've been actively working on it for the last 4 years, and we've had the store open for the last 1 year.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're celebrating our 1-year anniversary on the 30th of this month.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's gonna be, like, our vendors that sell out of us, they're gonna have tables with more space to sell things.
Okay,
We'll have
okay.
live music, Chloe's gonna be doing flash tattoos.
Oh, I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
well this judging on my schedule, this should be out that week.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we'll be sure to use it as some cannon fodder. What do you say? Some tinder. I don't know. To kind of
Some confetti for the party?
stoke the flames a little more.
Yeah.
And confetti.
We're also planning, which I'm super excited about, because we kind of just like solidified it today. It's the first Sunday of next month, and I hope that it continues every month. We're gonna start doing dog adoptions out of our conference room.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
This is perfect because my girlfriend's aunt is looking for a dog.
Oh,
But she's special needs, so we're trying to get direction here. So maybe that would be a good event to come in, and if they're familiar with someone that is in her shoes,
yeah.
you know, give us some direction on, you know, which dog and how to get them properly trained.
I suggest a poodle. We have a poodle,
They're so
and he is the most intelligent little creature that I've ever.
They're a little bit
met.
emotional though.
But they're also used often for emotional support animals
Yes.
and service dogs
Yes.
because they catch on really quick. They're super smart.
Yeah, I think if put through the service animal training courses, I'm sure.
Yeah, Momo would do well. He just needs it.
Momo has not been yet, and he is so smart that he is incredibly nervous all the time.
Yeah.
And very like. We got a second little puppy to hang out with him, and he's just like so jealous of him. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
But
yeah.
also, it's been like 2 years now. They're pretty brotherly. But the dogs that will be at this adoption, we're working with. It's called Healing Paws Highway, I believe. But our shelters in Arizona are overran. So yeah, just intensely. And what they do is they take dogs and transfer them to the northern states because they're not as overran as we are.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's kind of what they do, and they want to start helping local shelters that are also overran adopt dogs out.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
And it's kind of what we're probably going to be doing a little bit of after we make all this successful and we start the Beanchain network and everything. We want to help
Geriatric
Shannon
animals.
get like an animal rescue going,
Yeah.
so we can take
With my-
geriatric dogs and horses. and stuff.
Yeah, with my equine degree, I worked at a lot of rescues.
I'm telling you, you guys, I have so many people I need to promote you guys to. My friend Alex for the business and the animal rescue, she has a nonprofit she's trying to start called Freedom for Strays. And then my buddy Alex is all about the software and this business model. I got to get him in here to you guys can go back and forth with all the coding and all that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a full stack and kind of more on the front end side engineer. but I'm finding so many software engineers that really vibe with what we're doing, because it's really the way that we're going about this kind of reflects the way that like any software engineer would take apart a feature that they need to build for an application, just taking it step by step, making them into small digestible pieces.
Small, digestible, man. If you start looking at the whole thing, I'm sure you're like, this is my idea for, you know, the Beanchain Collective. Is that what we can, what's the official term?
We're gonna have kind of 3 stages to this. First, building the Beanchain,
Yes.
and then the Beanchain network, and then the Cooperate network.
And is Beanchain kind of branch off the blockchain? Is that kind of what we're thinking?
That was the original kind of
yes.
like joke with the name.
Yeah.
So yeah, we think that since the blockchain is, and we have some experiences in the blockchain world where we got some grants from Cardano to help build educational materials around that, because we thought that blockchain would be really helpful for building companies with distributed command structures. It's a very distributed technology, and it allows us to kind of get away from having all our data and all the applications stored in like big servers that some corporation owns. We can store it on our own machines and run this stuff on local networks, because it's all based on peer-to-peer networks. Which is a very empowering idea when you want to like bring some power back to the people. Having people be able to store their own data, run their own networks, and run all the tools they need on that is a cool idea. So we think stuff like that can really help with building companies like this that have distributed power structures. We have things like voting on a Beanchain chain, and have smart contracts that keep track of local living wages, so keeping track of the cost of apartments and food and gas in the area, and then generating a good living wage and automatically keeping wages tracking with that as we go, sort of thing. So including software in business in a way that automates things that you want to be a little bit more hands-off with, and like not have a human be there and increase the potential for greed or corruption to play a factor in it, then it's helpful.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's just opportunities. You might not go in with that intent, but as soon as you see, oh, okay.
We haven't gotten to the software stage yet.
Yes.
Too, but
well, that's all connected. I guess I need to get Alex in here, and you guys can go back and forth on a couple of things.
Yeah, our philosophy is first we want to build the software to support the systems that support people.
Yeah.
So you don't want to like get your horse before your was the cart before the horse.
Oh yeah, the cart before the horse. Yeah, do that.
We don't want to mix up the order here. So we're going to get the best practices down first, and then build the software to make those processes a little easier.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because the other way around, I can imagine like, well, we got the software already set up. Let's just roll with that, and then you easily slide into just that because it's already there. It's set
1,000 times.
Sure, man. Bringing out a new menu item or a new, tasty drink.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. You want to build systems for people, not try to fit people into systems.
Yeah, that is good.
I frequently come up with cool little quotes, and then I forget what they are.
You gotta write them down, man. That's like a good joke. It's like a bit. It's like I'll be sitting here, and I'll be looking at you guys. I'm like, oh my god, I just got something funny. I gotta work out. I gotta write it down. Sorry guys, I gotta go. I'll be back.
Yeah.
What is it we always say around the house? First.
Oh, we were trying to say measure twice, cut once, but now it's just a saying.
First twice.
No, measure first, twice, once.
That's the one.
Is what we say, because we never remember.
Measure first, twice, once.
That's right, baby.
I like that.
Yeah, just solid advice.
Yeah, you break it down. It makes sense. You break it down. It does make sense. So, all right. So, if people are interested in you guys are very open to meet too. If you guys didn't know, I mean, I walked in here a couple months ago, and you guys were both here and available and just eager to kind of show me around. And you guys have had some significant upgrades since I've been in as well.
We're always down for a tour.
Yeah.
And we're here all the time
Every
because
single day.
what we're building here kind of requires us to be here.
Yes.
We're trying to. We need to be a part of it so we can improve these systems and eventually get to the point where it can be something that we can elevate workers into decision-making positions around. And once we get the first location there, we'll move on and try to do that with a second location, and then we'll have eventually a chain of worker cooperatives, and it'll be moving.
Yeah, and like I say, you're putting out the blueprint because I mean, imagine it seems like you guys have a vision for this to be worldwide because we're looking at the human collective, right? So you're wanting to make a good blueprint to.
That's the idea. The idea is also for leadership to always be churning. We can start this and we can get it to the point where it's self-sustaining, but there's an element to humility that a lot of people miss, and that's understanding that you yourself are corruptible. If you can't process that you eventually could be out of touch and no longer capable of being a good leader in the capacity that you once were, then you're already corrupt.
Then you're already up. That is a very good point.
So we need this to be something that we can start and that other people can take the mantle up.
Yeah, and have it clearly defined and laid out so when you see that in the current leader where that's the issue, then it's like, hey, we all recognize this. Let's make room for someone more capable in this moment.
Yeah, it's timeless wisdom that like the best leaders are the ones that are not seeking power.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about worker cooperatives and having these systems where leadership is required to churn, is that when we're leading each other and participating in this thing together, when it is more democratic, then that kind of works itself out naturally. You don't need to, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where humans will do what's easy almost all the time. They'll do what benefits them the most. That's just kind of the natural incentive that comes with the genetically built-in desire to live. So we have to design systems in such a way that they plan for that.
Yeah.
So if we can make it easier to run companies that are worker-directed than it is to run, typical American corporations and companies, then more people will start choosing that.
Yeah.
Because it's easier.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with building the systems in such a way that they operate really fluidly, having best practices, having software that makes it easier, and having financial incentives in the form of like the cooperative network where we can pool the funds of member organizations to provide shared services to one another, shared funding mechanisms to one another, and guidance to make it all just incredibly easy.
Yeah, that's huge. And you're having to very pinpoint these very specific pieces and having that web kind of be linked up as, like you said, easy as possible. Because I mean, people, easy is always, the clear defining factor. If it's easiest for me to do this, I'm gonna do that.
That's how language evolves too.
Exactly right. Emojis. I mean, if I can, instead of sending a thank you, if I can just send you this, it gets the point across.
We've all seen older people be like, "That's not right. That's not how that's supposed to work." But it's like it's what's easy, so it's what people are going to do.
Yeah. I don't get my point across the fastest, so we can move on to where it needs to go. But I think people are recognizing that they need a little bit more effort, a little bit more autonomy to take the reins themselves and create something that is going to hold that value, even if it's not as easy, but it just holds a lot more weight, and it speaks to your soul and your purpose.
Yeah, and I think democracy is always going to be harder than being an authoritarian.
Yeah.
Than running a company with an iron fist and like having whatever you decide be the way it goes, because there's only one person you have to listen to there. But democracy definitely does fill the soul a lot more. Because that the people around you are happy as well.
Yeah.
The people around you are
fulfilled together as well. And you shared it and you worked through it, and it was hard to figure it out because it's just like any relationship, any marriage, any friendship. I mean, you're two completely individual people with different desires and needs and wants, but you're willing to compromise for the greater good.
Yeah, and caring for everyone, caring for those that have the least power in society, I always thought of as a very
virtuous.
I think it's a very telling factor. You can really tell who a person is by how they treat people that they don't need to be good to in their lives. And I think that, you look at some of the happiest countries on earth, like Finland, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, they have very kind systems when it comes to the least of those in their societies. Finland has housing first homelessness programs. where if you need a place to stay, a place to live, you get it. And they have, job training, education available freely, healthcare available freely, and it leads to people traversing through that system and becoming tax-paying individuals again in society very quickly.
Yeah.
And they have near 0% rough sleepers when it comes to homeless people that are sleeping on the street involuntarily.
Well, it's dangerous up there too, right? I mean, it's dangerous here because it's very hot, but there it's cold. I mean,
and you see a much happier society.
With less sun, technically, which was kind of like, hey, don't you need vitamin D for your seasonal depression?
And similarly in Norway, you see a very happy society, and something that they do is with their prisoners, who
that was crazy when I found that out.
Society.
Yeah.
They have amazing prison systems where they treat them like individuals still. They lose their freedom of movement, but they are being treated for what was wrong in life instead of exacted revenge upon. So instead of revenge, their prison system is based on forgiveness and rehabilitation.
Yeah, the justice system, you can say you loosely say that loosely. It's
But you see that reverberate through their society in the way that they see each other. You can see the prison guards there treat the inmates very well and kindly, and they see them as human. And if you look at the prison guards in America and the way they, historically have treated prisoners, it's not been that well.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the con of our such individualistic and me, I'm great in the U.S. with our agency to just make our own future. Really, the individual is what shines in the U.S. And so I think that's one thing that we can gain from other countries that are more of the collective, especially like Eastern Asian countries where it's very familial, very tribal, and community based.
Yeah, it's an idea that always struck me was if you care about you have one person watching out for you. But if you care about other people and other people care about you, then you have millions of people watching out for you. Yeah. I think that there is a great power in respecting the ideals that society, the concept of society was built on, which is that we're stronger together if we do things that help each other.
Yeah, easily. And I think people do recognize that, but like I said, we're short-sighted. Yeah. And the quickest way is just to get what I want in this moment and know that, okay, I got my win, and then on to the next struggle.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cultural component of America right now. And that's actually, there's a couple cultural aspects of American business that we've been trying to address with this very specifically, because there's a reason that cooperatives haven't caught on in the United States the same way they have most other places. And it is a lot to do with that individual mindset. So a few of the components that we're trying to address that we've heard come up time and time again when we talk to business owners about starting cooperatives is, fear of losing control of their company, the thing that they spend so much time and energy creating, and rightfully so. And fear about what kind of exit strategy would I have? How do I get out of this? How do I make sure that I'm well aware of this? And then in that same line of thinking, if I put in all the risk, I should get all the reward, and that kind of absolute mentality. And the ways that we're trying to build elements into this to try to gently address those things and make people more comfortable with giving up some of the power and some of the profits is saying, hey, as founders, you can retain 50% of the voting power and a veto as the company goes on. And then eventually when you pass, or if you want to sell, you can sell to the workers, or your shares can pass to the workers once you're gone. And then, wanting an exit strategy, we can have the workers be able to buy out the founders if the founders are willing. And we also won't transition towards the legal, the workers that are members having equity until the initial investment and the amount of, we put a monetary value on the amount of risk and time that the founders put into it, until that quantity is paid back. Then it kind of transitions towards legally into having equity for the workers as well. So there's kind of a time frame on it, you get this much of the profits until then. So it allows them to say this is what that was worth.
Yes, for all your upfront investment and headache, it's a lot that you guys have kind of, you know, spearheaded here.
And that provides a roadmap that founders can commit to, so that the workers know that eventually there will be equity and profit sharing for them as well, and it provides the security that the founders would need in order to know, hey, I'm gonna get everything that I need to out of this and more.
Yeah, man, that is beautiful. Well, I know you guys are working, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but if people want to come out and get more information and get familiar with your guys' vision and feed off of you guys, because this is what I do. I love to get face to face with people because the energy is different. You can hear it, you hear the message all you want, but as soon as you're staring into each other's eyes and you know, catching your aura and how you speak with it passionately, it hits different. So we're on Alma School in Southern here, right? But obviously you got an online presence. What is the best way to kind of get a hold of you guys?
So our website is Beanchain.coffee. That's BCHAIN.coffee. And we're on the northeast corner of Alma School in Southern, right next to that Big Lots. We're kind of hiding behind them there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, where else should people?
We have Instagram, Facebook, and we're trying to get more of a presence on TikTok. We just hired an amazing person who has been helping us. She actually baristas with us, but she used to be the marketing person for my sister's closet.
Nice.
Yeah, and so she's been just helping us exponentially with social media. So
Yeah,
that's definitely growing. Yeah, so you can always contact us there. I have all the messaging things, so that's usually how people talk to me.
And we have private offices available, a shared workspace for just $25 a month, and we do events, and we have a conference room, which we're in right now.
Yeah, and that $25 a month, unlimited, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then eventually we're gonna figure out a way to make sure it can be 24 hours a day for the shared workspace. We just have to be able to do that in a way where like people can't like come into the shop party and mess with our equipment while we're not there.
Yeah, no, you don't want people cutting their fingertips.
That's right. Right off.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, David, thank you so much for sitting in. I love what you guys have going on here. Any last tidbits you want to leave for the crowd here?
Don't give up and don't get cynical. Keep your heart. We can fix the world and find ways to eliminate the things that we went through, so that the next generation doesn't have to.
Yeah. Well done. Well said, guys. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning into this one time. Please follow and support Beanchain. Come in and grab a tasty healing tea if you're free coffee free like me. But as soon as I'm back on the wagon next month, I'm gonna come in for come in for some espresso goodness. All right, guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Peace and love. Bye.